Here we are with module number 9, ROI, or return on investment. This is very interesting to me, and I think it's just absolutely phenomenal. Some people grab onto this and some don't. I'm going to show you something that's quite unimaginable. Very, very, very high returns. How is this possible? Well, it's possible because the developmental work to build all these processes has been taking place with other funds over the last 20 years. So all you've got left is the cost to use the processes, which is negligibly small. Most of you have some kind of savings for retirement. So let me ask you, what would be the return on investment you'd want for your retirement funds? If you had 110% per year, that'd be 10% interest on your money. I'd take that in this climate today in a heartbeat. How about 200% per year? Suppose you get a return of thousands of percents. I'm going to show you that if you use these processes, do the math. I'm not going to show you the details of the math. You can do your own easily enough. You're probably talking 6, 7, 8,000%. This is so amazing. Why? How does it work? Well, because team development assessments particularly are such high leverage, low cost things. We sell these to network providers for $25 or $100. And I showed you data earlier where you improve performance 6, 7% depending on where your team is. It's quite incredible. So we're going to build a model team. This looks a lot like the application systems division I showed you earlier. They gave me the inspiration for this, but I was going to show you an organization with, I think this is 240 people plus some leaders like this. Could be any numbers in here you want. And why am I interested in this? Because many companies would like to change large numbers. For example, I do a lot of work in China. These state-owned enterprises have 1 million people. How do you develop 1 million people? You don't do it one person at a time, sending them off to school. It's ridiculously expensive. You do it en masse, as I'll show you here. This is a little summary chart showing all the processes of the 4D system. Sorry it didn't animate quite right, but doesn't matter. Only point here is you can match and pick among these processes using the book, the team development assessments, individual development assessments, and workshops. And I want to show you roughly the cost of each of these. The books retail in the U.S. for about 20 bucks. I assumed over a 2-year period we did 5 TDAs for each of the 13 teams. A fake leadership team, as I showed you before. If you did this, and I put this at $1,000, assuming that you're going to put in an average of 3 or 4 of your consulting hours with each of these, and assume you charge 250 bucks, something like that. Modify for your own numbers, doesn't matter. This is monthly coaching for the team leaders, of which there's 13, and they have 13 times 2 actually. Again, you can do mix and match any of these you want, and then finally you have a workshop, a 3-day workshop for the team leaders, and workshop modules for every team. The workshop modules twice per year following each team development assessment, and I put in hours for that. So that's your cost side of the ledger. Let's look at the benefits side. I'm estimating that you've got a salary of $125,000 a year with overhead. Now people say, oh, that's a lot. No, that's not a lot. That's actually, if you look at a typical business overhead, it's for the government or a consulting firm, maybe it's a factor of 2. For a manufacturing entity or an aerospace company, it's a factor of 3. So we're talking about paying employees something like half of that, $65,000 a year, which is not a lot of money for a technologically managed company or almost any company in the U.S. with professional workers. And we guess the savings every 6 months. I put it at 6%. I don't know what number is the right number. You can pick your own. I think I did this by averaging out those graphs that I looked at before. And what this is a 3% return for each TDA, which I think is very conservative. So what you got to look at is your first TDA, you get an improvement of 3%. The next one 6, the next one 9, the next one 12, because you're going up 3% each TDA cycle, of which there's 5 over 2 years. So I picked 6 as an average number, again, very conservatively. It's probably almost surely higher. Now, if you save 6% of $144 million, that's $18 million. The investment's $220,000. The ROI on this calculation is 8%. So I don't know what you could do differently about this calculation. You could assume, 6% is the right number. By the way, what I also want you to see that I didn't take into account is when you finish this 2-year process, you've boosted performance 12%, and there's an expectation that would continue and slowly taper. That's additional benefit I did not include. I did not include any of the benefits you have from reduction of risk, lower probability of failure, and the benefits of competitive advantage you'd get from doing your pleasing your customer more. Those aren't in here. This is a very, very, very conservative number, 8,000%. There's what I was just talking about. If you stopped here and you had only the TDAs going forward, you'd get a much, much larger ROI, because this would go 12, 15% on up. You've built this platform. Also, I didn't take into account some slides I'll show you later about cultural change, where you changed the entire organization by changing the social feel. Think about this. So how could anyone not want to do this? When I have this briefing and I go with team leaders and they say, well, Charlie, I really want to have you convince me that these numbers are all right. And I say, well, here's the truth of the matter. I could spend the next 3 or 4 hours and bring forward the arguments. I could tell you the stories that are in my book. I could explain to you the details. And at the end of the day, you might or might not be convinced. So here's a better idea. Just go try it. In fact, here's what's even better. If you do this for free and don't charge anything, we don't charge you. You can just go do the experiment. You'll find that just as I did when I first started this work and had no data, people tried this work and found it was amazing. It went like wildfire every place that it took off. So here's just some icons. This is the lower risk. This is the improved performance, customer advantage. This is the company-wide change. A very simple, very compelling story, and hope you found that fun. Thank you, and I'll be on with some extra slides in a bit here. Bye-bye.